They pressured them, they questioned them. And when they didn't work, some people started trying to shame them. But now, many Black Americans are responding with an even stronger message. We still said no. And this is where the conversation gets uncomfortable. Because the debate is no longer just about deportations. It is about political pressure, solidarity, reciprocity, and whether Black Americans are expected to show up every single time another community faces a crisis. And judging by the reactions online, this conversation is only getting hotter. Let's get into it.
So I noticed that whenever Black Americans have a conversation and they bring it to people's attention that we literally fought and some of us unalived for the rights that a lot of people come to this country to enjoy, there's always a facet of people in the comments saying things like, y'all act like all y'all were out there protesting. Y'all act like all of y'all were Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. Not all Black people were out there protesting. Y'all really just try to take credit for what everybody else was doing. First of all, I know that you got that talking point from the Boondocks. Okay, I watched the Boondocks too. Secondly, I've always hated that aspect of the Boondocks because for me, that was all I needed to see to know that the creator of the Boondocks was raised by a white woman. Because there's no way if you were raised by a Black woman in a Black household that you would come away thinking that the only Black people who really participated or did anything was the ones who showed up at the protests. Because my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and my mother have countless stories of them squaring up in the streets against white people, running home from white boys in pickup trucks, having to square up with white women at the office, having to advocate for themselves at the local grocery store or the butcher's market when they were trying to overcharge them or make them pay the Black tax. There are countless ways that every single Black American person was fighting against racism in their everyday lived lives. You guys have no idea the terror that we lived under. You guys have no idea the abuses that we experienced on a day-to-day basis. Not even being able to walk out your house and look around, gotta look down because God forbid you make the wrong face at a white person. That could send you to jail or have you strung up from a tree. Y'all watch these stories and see these movies and y'all think that happened to a few of us. Y'all don't realize that happened to a lot of us. Little Ruby Bridges was not the only Black person to desegregate schools. Hell, my mom desegregated schools. She's 51. And she was one of the first Black girls to go to her high school. She had to deal with them throwing bananas at her in the hallway, making monkey noises at her. She ended up getting expelled from 3 different high schools because she was not about to let these white people bully her. So I'm saying all this to say, Black Americans, we've never had to be out there on the front lines protesting to be fighting for everybody's rights. We fight against white supremacy hand in hand in our real lived lives. Okay? So miss me with the, oh, y'all all not Martin Luther King. Oh, y'all not all protesting. Y'all can shut that shit on right on up. And furthermore, who are you to even say that? You're not even Black American to be even questioning that. Stay in y'all lane.
AOC just once again tried to invoke Jim Crow in order to get Black people to stand up and be a human shield for illegal aliens. But Black Americans are not the human shield for Democrats to use whenever they get ready in order to have us riled up and ready to vote for them or to co-sign their disgusting policies. Check out this video.
Military force. We don't have a court system, right? They don't think they need judicial warrants. So you don't get due process. So you start creating this black box system.
That's right, black box warehouses.
Point a finger, whether it's like we saw in Jim Crow, whether you just point a finger and 100 years ago accuse a little black boy of something, you can point a finger and accuse someone of that today. If you think once you build that machine that it's only going to be reserved to that.
That's right.
See, young AOC doesn't realize that the Democratic Party has been promising Black Americans all types of ridiculous things that they have never been able to come through on. But miraculously, they were able to make it easy for illegal aliens to buy homes with I-10s. They were able to get illegal aliens into schools all across the city, in cities like Chicago. They were able to now they're doing full-scale No Kings rallies and protests all across the country, fully heavily funded in order to show up for illegal aliens. You know who you have not really seen that for? The only time you've seen the Democrats do a full-scale assault and rally was for George Floyd. But you don't see it for literacy rates. The Democrats haven't done any of these types of protests for literacy rates, which are so incredibly low here in Chicago. Chicago is graduating kids who cannot read on a regular basis, to the point where they had to change the standard for what is a requirement for graduation. They decreased it so that they can continue to graduate more children. So you don't see the Democrats do anything to actually help Black Americans. But as soon as illegal aliens are in the least bit of discomfort, here comes AOC bringing up Jim Crow. We are not going to we're not going to rally the troops for illegal aliens, AOC. We're not. The Democratic Party is that they will co-opt language like lynching, and they will compare what's happening to people who did commit a crime to Black people who did not commit a crime. We did not commit a crime over here. We did not get lynched because we committed a crime.
No, that's a great racist.
No. Wait, people who got lynched, they didn't commit crimes. They were slaves, and they were being punished for rules that shouldn't have existed. We cannot allow the language and what happened to Black people to be
I'm going to do something. I'm going to stop because we're wrapping this up, and I got two more things to.
They actually do need to go because they are diluting the Black American vote. They're diluting the American vote. So no, they do need to go back to their home countries, which is the best place for them to be, unless they are actually in a dangerous situation. And in that case, they should have pursued the proper processes for gaining access to America, which is not jumping a fence. ICE agents are doing the work they should be doing, which is needed in many communities, considering Chicago is a major cartel hub. We do need ICE to do exactly what they're doing. Cities all across the country want ICE. AOC doesn't want ICE because AOC is more than likely indebted to some type of entity that has nothing to do with America.
Racist Latino community coming for Black Americans. Now we have other people in the diaspora talking about, but Black people are being deported too. What about us? We're not trying to be divisive, but I'm also remembering how many of y'all were sitting back saying that we were lazy, that we had no culture, we didn't know where we came from, and claiming things that are actually in our culture as your own. And I'm still not over the fact that a lot of y'all feel like Juneteenth, y'all should be celebrated too. So for y'all to sit in the comments and then co-sign on with that community that's being racist towards Black people, Black Americans, especially talking about, I'm so upset that the Black people are saying that they're not a part of this fight. It's all of us because some of us are getting deported too. Babes, we're Black American. Remember the same demographic that y'all said that we always want to be the main character and that we're so xenophobic because whenever we sit back and defend ourselves against people saying shit about us, we're those people. So please stop making Black Americans feel like they have to be fucking patriotic. Leave us the fuck alone. Remember, all the rest of y'all thought that y'all were the better imports. We were the old imports. We were here before America was America. Okay? And that is not a call for the pretendians. So, yeah. Leave us out of the whole conversation. If y'all want to team up because y'all can't stand Black Americans, then team the fuck up. But the law is the law because there's the civil law and then there's also the criminal law. And some of them have broken the civil and the criminal. And for the Latinos that want to say, but we did Black Lives Matter. Number one, you saying that is very racist because that's negating that Afro-Latinos exist. So let's start there. And then on top of that, Black Lives Matter was about under the law. Things were not being done under the law. Under the law. The deportation is happening because that is the law. We, the Black people, the Black community, we were not getting justice served. Killing people on the street is not a part of the rules of the land, baby. The rules of the land, just like any other country, you have to have a visa or citizenship to stay here for years. for years. So comparing it and saying that y'all fought with a student in Black Lives Matter, number one, the numbers weren't numbering, okay? And number two, that's negating the fact that y'all have Black people in your community. So it still goes back to you being racist, because we were fighting for things that were actually due to us called due process. Maybe if you learned the rules of the land, you would know what due process means. And that's exactly what Black Lives Matter was fighting for us to actually have due process if somebody broke the law, or if they didn't break the law and they were unjustly killed by the police. You being deported because you don't have proper documentation is just what's not clicking.
This is the time for all of us to raise our voices and to say this country is also our country, is also the country of our immigrants, because we are the one who built it.
Given the circumstances in Haiti, I can understand her frustration. I can understand the fear that a lot of Haitians would probably have at this point. A lot of them have been here for, many, many years, 10, 15, 20 years, and this is probably all that they know. Some of them don't even have memories of Haiti and been living under this temporary protection status. But to say that you built the country is like, why would you build America but not build Haiti? That alone doesn't make sense. Like, why if you have your own plot of land, your own island that's for you, really it's technically like having your own private island. It belongs to you and your folks. Why would you not build that and come over to somebody else's house and build that up, and not build up your own house on your own private island, your beautiful island, by the way? That part does not make sense. And obviously we know who built the country. I mean, the country was built by foundationally Black Americans, the freedmen, the slaves, and then, the freedmen. So when immigrants started coming over here, they were adding to a foundation that was already built and just kind of put their, they added to it. I'm not saying that they didn't help.
So America's doors are closed fully to asylum seekers. We've set up agreements where if you want asylum, then we will find a country elsewhere in the world to take you. It's very simple, very elegant, a very complete solution.
Problem is that when you build in somebody else's house, you kind of give them the right to say, okay, well, it's time for you to go. This is my house. Now I'm gonna need you to go back to your house. And I'm not saying none of this as a way to poke fun at anybody's misfortunes, because I actually feel bad for a lot of the people who don't know what they're gonna do next, don't have no idea how to make a life in Haiti. So I'm not making fun of it. I'm just saying that if she claims that immigrants built America, right? But why would you build America when you have a whole country that you can build exactly to the way that your people would want it to be, and just kind of make a better life for your people in your home country? They just don't make sense to me.
This is where emotions start running high. Some people argue that deportation policies can affect families, workplaces, neighborhoods, and broader country. From that perspective, they believe everyone should care. That is a legitimate argument. But here is the problem. Caring about an issue is not the same as being pressured into activism. And many Black Americans are making that distinction very clearly. They are saying, you can't demand participation, you can't shame us into joining, and you definitely can't assume that our political priorities must automatically become yours. That's why the phrase, we still say no, is powerful. It is not necessarily saying, we celebrate anyone's suffering. It is saying, you do not get to control our political response. And now we get to the part nobody wants to discuss, reciprocity. A growing number of Black Americans are asking, when Black communities were fighting over policing, employment discrimination, housing inequality, school funding, and economic opportunity, who consistently stood beside them? Now, people will disagree on the answer. Some will say migrants absolutely did show solidarity. Others will say the support was inconsistent or selective. But either way, that question cannot simply be dismissed, because political coalitions survive on trust. And if one group feels like the relationship only becomes important when their numbers, voters, voices, or activism are needed, resentment is almost inevitable. That is the deeper issue underneath this entire controversy. Now, something important needs to be said. Black Americans do not all think alike. Some Black Americans strongly oppose deportations and are actively supporting migrant communities. Others support stricter immigration enforcement, and many are somewhere in the middle. Here is where critics may be making a major strategic mistake. If you want solidarity, shaming people is probably one of the worst ways to build it. Calling people selfish, ignorant, hateful, or disloyal because they won't join your cause may actually push them further away. Coalitions are built through persuasion, through trust, through sharing interests, through mutual respect, not through guilt, not through insults, and definitely not through the assumptions that one racial group owes another group automatic political labor. The more pressure increases, the more some Black Americans appear determined to say, "We heard you the first time, our answer has not changed." So now the real question is bigger than deportation. Can political solidarity survive when people feel it only flows in one direction? Can communities rebuild trust after years of tension? And should any group ever be expected to fight a political battle simply because others demand it? Because right now, the message from some Black Americans is becoming harder to ignore. You pressured us, you criticized us, you tried to shame us, and we still said no. Now I want to hear from you. Should Black Americans be expected to join the fight against deportations? Or does every community have the right to choose its own political battles? Drop your opinion below, keep the debate respectful, and if you value independent commentary on the conversations everyone else is afraid to touch, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.